Yeah, this is Sky Moon from Frogg, Frogg, and you're listening to the Brutally Delicious podcast.
One, two, three, four. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast. The Brutally Delicious Podcast.
Hey, man.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. You got all three of us presently on?
Yeah. Presently, yep. Are you guys all in Stamford, or are you guys located all over the place?
Not Brett.
Not Brett. No, Will's the drummer of the band and world instrument player, percussionist. Oh, he plays a million things. But Will and I are in Stamford. We actually live like 2 minutes away from each other. And Brett
nice.
and the bass player Ethan we're all Berkeley cats. They're still in their Boston phase, so they're up in Boston.
Boston phase, and eventually everybody migrates out.
Tends to
There's a
happen.
few different variations of things that happen. You know, some people don't work in music. A lot of people go to LA and then they move back home. Like it's, you know.
So let's start here. Let's for those not familiar with Frogg, can you give us the 2-sentence elevator pitch, boardroom pitch kind of thing?
Sure. Super brutal, technical, progressive metal. That's pretty freaking original.
I mean, after listening, I think that's a beautiful. That was probably less than 2 sentences, and I think that nails it. So let's just jump in then. How do you think your band's use of unconventional world instruments and genre blending songwriters challenges traditional boundaries within technical and progressive metal?
I think ultimately it doesn't in all of the ways that people think it does. We're not really the first to do this. If you look at bands from around the world that don't have a lot of reach, or there's a great Japanese act called Wagaki Band that their members are split right down the middle between traditional instruments and metal band. And, they're not tech death, but they do a thing that is evenly rock riffs and sort of older metal riffs and J-pop stuff, and then fully traditional. And there's no real clash there as long as everybody's playing like A440 equal temperament. The people with a fretless shamisen are respecting that the bass player and the guitarist have frets on their instrument, right. And as long as that's happening, or there's space being created for the things that are less conventionally tonal in a Western sense, then it's all made out of the same stuff. Every civilization has figured out that the overtone series exists. It's a real thing in physics. You find the circle of fifths, you find a 12-note scale, you figure out your diatonic modes, and then it's just kind of what you do from there and how you design things. That's culture, that's geography, that's the materials you're physically working with. So to me, genre is kind of just a sort of a marketing scheme, and also a set of terms we use with each other, like, oh, let's hit that gent part here, when it's never really a gent riff. It's never really a mathcore riff. It's never really a metalcore riff. Sometimes it is really a tech death riff with us, but that's where this thing started, because Sky put out an EP and it went from there. So yeah, I don't think it's a huge departure from a whole lot, and I take a lot from of ideas from bands like Unexpect and Diablo Swing Orchestra, who don't just play genre roulette where they're jumping around, but go like, let's make a clear blend where you don't know where the mariachi and the metal song begin and end with them. It's all part of that process.
So walk me through your writing process then. It's got to be is it pretty intense and difficult? And how are you approaching it? From the world instrument side, or does that come in later? Or
that's usually last on my part. So our writing process for the record, or for what's next? Because what's next is very democratic and equitable.
I think I can talk on this.
Different.
Yeah, I think I can talk on this. Like, At the core, we are like a tech death prog metal band. Will just happens to own a million things and play them proficiently. Like every day is like a 14-hour. I don't even know where the instrument is from, and he tells me, and I forget because it's instrument number
Right.
184 that he's getting proficient at. So the way that like it does, in my view, it like does kind of brush against the grain, but it's like it's not avant-garde or it's not a melange for the sake of being that. It's kind of just like, hey, this guitar solo has like clean acoustic guitars, and then suddenly it's this fusion section with like congas and timpani and all this other
Right.
stuff, right, that Will can do. So we kind of just like incorporate what makes sense. Like some songs don't have any of it, because it's just like this is like a tech death prog song, and there's no room for it. And there's other songs where musically, because there's a lot of like instrumental aspects of the music where I'm not screaming and playing at the same time for like every section. And then it's like, hey, like our choir is my partner who's a vocalist who does her own stuff. She's all of our choirs. I mean, we have some intentionally fake choirs like on Dandelion for like hits because it's like sonically what we're going for. But the majority of our songs, there's like layers and layers of real vocal choirs. There's layers and layers of Will's world instruments, and none of it is, to me, it's all complementary. And that's when we like bring it in, is when it's complementary to like whatever the song is. Because at the end of the day, like Will has his influences, I have mine, Brett has his, and we
Sure.
just finished writing like a new single actually, like with our whole new like lineup. And it's just kind of like everybody has like their voice and their say in the songwriting process. So it's just like, the music we like is what we kind of put together. It's like an amalgamation of those things that we enjoy as listeners.
Fair enough. Do you shoot, I just lost my train of thought. Do you ever I'm gonna have to skip where I went. Let's go. It'll come back to me at some point here because I was just listening to your answer. But how do you think the band's lyrics? That you guys explore a lot of mythology and stuff on the record, but is there a takeaway or something you want your fans to walk away from after listening to record or the new singles that are coming out?
I think that like there's a philosophy that I've applied to all of our songs from Eclipse onwards, and it's been that like to me it feels like really cheesy when metal is super like surface level and specific. There's a lot of mythology in metal, and to us it's way more interpretive, so that you could go like, hey, this song's just about being pissed off, and then it's like, oh, the song is about like Oedipus losing his eyes, and then there's like you can kind of like take it for what you want. Like it's kind of meticulously put together, like having a lot of like visual accompaniment with like the spoken word, and it's kind of screamed. That's like a lot of it kind of comes from that sort of angle. And yeah, it's not the album itself doesn't have like a recurring theme. Like one of them is literally based on like a Warhammer universe where fanatics like blow up the fucking earth. It's like that's not. But you could go through that whole song and not know any of that and be like, this is just like a brutal like song about depression. You don't need to know the lore or the mythology it references per se. So
That makes sense. And I know what I was going to ask you now. You were mentioning Will brings in different, or he's good in different instruments, and he brings them in. Is there ever been an instrument he's brought in, and you were like, no fucking way, we're using this?
yes. Well,
not actually. There's been stuff that I brought in for a second, and then we had like weather trouble. There's an interesting thing on our closer for the album, Omni Trigger, where I had to fully replan it because the weather was so brutal. It's all built around this lute called the biwa. It's a Japanese instrument. But I was going to do something that uses the instrumentation of the oldest living orchestral form, which is gagaku. So it was a really grand and lofty thing that's never happened in metal before. And certain things with those instruments, and that lute in particular with its silk strings, it just was not behaving. We were in the middle of a big rainstorm on the day we were tracking, but we were tracking here at my house where I have all these.
You were tracking indoors though, right?
Yeah,
you weren't tracking in the storm.
Yeah,
the humidity
it was impossible.
Really?
Yeah, it was impossible
sensitive?
to keep track of. With silk strings, it is, and
Wow.
with that particular biwa, which we took video of it. Honestly, I picked kind of the wrong biwa. I have one with better tuning stability that has an extra fret that I could have used, but I dug myself that deep, and I went outside frustrated, smoking a cigarette, and I'm just like standing on my porch going, "Oh, what are we gonna do with this?" And it came to me, "Oh, let's just make this like a really dark sort of horror movie build-up section. And if you remember that bit toward the final track where you hear voices all reversed and it's all I look up to Mikey Goodman from Sixth immensely, and if we had had time, I would have discussed collaboration with him for some stuff, but time is time. So I went, I'm just going to do my best Mikey Goodman impression. We're going to play it backwards, use that as the central vocal accompaniment, and then put like no-kan and shakuhachi and just do no theater around it, because that's an atonal system. And that allows you to just be dissonant and only care about pitch curves, fully disconnected from anything people are really doing. But it's dissonant in a way that's more comfortable for metal. And it just sort of occurred to me, like, what if I say the words, sometimes it bleeds when I scratch it, and then we reverse the track. So I just had it all laid out, walked back inside and went like, Sky, give me more tracks. I'm going to grab these instruments. Don't ask questions. Call this one flute. Call this one shock. I don't know.
Right.
And I just did it and like, get ready to reverse these. Sometimes it bleeds when I scratch it. And he was looking at me like I was a goddamn
nuts.
I got what we were going for. It's sometimes Will's just deep in the like avant-garde theater-esque like stuff, and there's a sprinkle of that, like obviously in the record. I think like there's definitely been situations where it's not so much that we've said like, no, not this instrument. It's been more like what you're doing needs to fit the music more, because will come in and he learns these, and you got to realize he studies these instruments with like teachers overseas from the culture they're from. He takes it like really freaking seriously. So he comes in with like traditional expertise, and that sometimes that traditional way of playing something doesn't vibe with the metal, and he has to kind of change how he's playing, like a certain raga or something might not fit what we're doing, and it's kind of clashing. So there's always like an adjustment to make it work. But yeah, we bring it in when it makes sense, obviously with the foresight that Will's playing a drum kit live, not all these instruments. So
as a recording engineer for the last 40 years or whatever, on the side and doing whatever, how hard was it to mix this? You're telling me about layers and layers and layers of stuff, and now we're adding like backwards tracks and reversing things and adding world instruments. You must be are you doing it yourselves?
No. So I reamp the guitars myself. I do a bunch of EQ work. I engineer the drums for tracking. So all the tracking we do ourselves. We ship all of our stems we ship them to Jamie King for this record.
Oh yeah, he's a legend, right?
Yeah, he's an OG, and he does great work. Can't rec him enough. He mixed and mastered the record. So it's kind of like there's like production elements I take care of so that they're the way we want it. Like the reverse vocal is, we add reverb, we do EQ, we do things where we get the sound right and we get the stems sounding like very close to finish, and he kind of runs it through his workflow and adds his Jamie King magic, and it kind of just sounds crisp and clear. It's very hard to get clarity.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I mean, that kind of music anyway, without adding all the other instruments, is hard to get clarity when you have the wall of distortion and the screaming and the whole thing. But then you're going to add, those instruments I've never heard of that Will's just talking about. And yeah, it's, I imagine it's challenging. But does Jamie come back? Does he do any of the production along the way, or do you guys just send them what you've done?
No, he definitely does.
Do you think he pulls stuff out of you that you wouldn't have had before?
I don't know, because we're so anal of our writing, and we kind of like, when we make our music, we know exactly what it's supposed to sound like in its end form. So like he definitely does, right? Like obviously it would be crazy to say he doesn't. It's just that I don't know that it's necessarily like pulling stuff out we wouldn't have, because we're super calculated. Like we transpose all of our music before we even hit record. Like the single we wrote, the drums are transcribed, the guitars are, lyrics are basically about to be written. Like everything is already like completely fleshed out down to the detail, like to the vibrato, like wide vibrato, short vibrato, like the whammy bars. It's all very accurate to what we're going to track. So it's super premeditated. Like our tracking process is very premeditated. Like the new single, I've been practicing it for a few weeks now, and I can like play it like if we were going to play it live, but then tracking's always different. It takes a lot more effort, and there's in the world of like punching in, you have to ask yourself like, what's okay to punch in? Like some sections, you just got to be able to, play it good front to
Because you have
back.
to do them live too, right? You got to consider that.
Oh yeah, yeah. So clarity on that. We've been practicing, Brett. What is it? A year now? It'll be before our first show of just a year
Close
of
to
practice, and that's just with Brett
This June.
and our bass player. So with a full lineup, it took us a year to learn essentially like 35 minutes of music tight, and we still have like a few dress rehearsals planned. We have a show booked in August. We haven't announced yet, but we're trying to set up like a debut show because this band's been been around for a very long time, and to us it's like we're super perfectionist about it, because in my eyes there's a lot of metal that's like tech death, and you go live and the drums are completely fake triggers and it's not tight, the vocals aren't tight, the guitar playing isn't tight. And so like a lot of my practice, I don't get to practice as much as I used to, maybe like 16 hours a week nowadays, but it's all about sounding exactly like the record is super important. And then I do like goblin shit, like in the mirror, like maybe I like have like a shot or two. I try to make it harder for me, because live on the stage, which is what I love, stuff isn't perfect, right? Your environment isn't perfect, your sound isn't perfect, and stuff can go wrong. And then also there's like pressure of being, on stage, because like I hate personally when I watch tech death bands, I hate the guitar strapped to the chest. These guys will tell you even in rehearsal when we're just doing like audio stuff, I go a little animal mode sometimes, because like Lexi Leo is like my spirit animal. So yeah, we're the type of band that we're hoping to kind of like start playing shows throughout the summer and moving forward in the Northeast. We're not going to like grind out Brooklyn every weekend. That's not this band. It's going to be like select events where we can like pull our friends and our fans that want to see us in the Northeast, because there's a lot of people that have bought the album that are just like, hey, I'm in New Jersey, tell me when you're doing a show near me. Like people will travel for this band, so we need to make sure our show is like the tightest thing ever. So we've been working literally for a year of like everybody practicing a full freaking year, dress rehearsals, just to get it, just to get it
right
really good.
What's it like sequencing? Oh, sorry.
Oh, to clarify on the material, everything is written to be played live. There's these moments with my world stuff where it's like, okay, well, we'll do it to a click and that goes in a backing track because there's just too many things. But we don't write anything without the intention of playing it live. What we don't always know how to do is make it work in studio, which is why we end up hiring an engineer. Right. But everything will happen live at some point, even the craziest shit that we put out, even the most avant-garde shit. There's always room for changing the arrangement if need be. And there's always a way to do it fully organically. And once you know a song that well, like the record, what's the quote that's been attributed to a million different famous jazz musicians? Like, you spend every day in the woodshed running scales, and then you get on stage and you just forget that shit and blow your horn.
Yeah. Yep.
That's really what it's about. That you end up with this improvisation that comes in when you are just under the adrenaline, or you know the thing well enough that you can listen to everybody else and while you're playing, and you just make choices. Yeah.
And I think that's cool too, because it makes every show unique and it may be not unique on a grand scale, but there may be unique elements that you're adding on the fly or changing. That's kind of cool.
At least like the drum nerds will never know what is through composed and what is a new lick, or where is a mistake, and where I just go like, oh, I swung that in the wrong place on that bar. Let's do it on the next bar too. Once the mistake, right. Twice is jazz.
That's a liberty only you have live, though, Sky. I can't be improvising live.
Yeah,
that's true. Although the solo, the guitar solo in Life Zero was a studio improv. So
yeah, that was just like, okay, that worked. It's a little. I still listen to it. I'm like, I'm a little sharp, but sometimes every just like pinch harmonic and slide is just like perfect. Like it was like I wasn't even the person recording, and I was just like, okay, that'll just be the solo for the song. I was just messing around after tuning. Little sharp, still makes me cringe. But yeah, I think there's going to be variety in terms of certain parts of our set list where obviously we have a touring rack and we have in-ears, because there's just so many elements that we need that are vital to the song. So we don't have anything like, I don't even think we're planning on triggering drums, but we don't even have like, we have maybe when I play a solo, the most cheating we do is we have like the other side of the rhythm guitar coming in at a low volume to keep the surround sound of rhythm. And like that's the most cheatery crap we do because it's just like the choir that my girlfriend sang is like it's super evil. We want it over this verse. And then there's moments in our set where certain songs end certain ways that we just there's not even a click. The click just vanishes. So we're just kind of playing it like old school style because it just
Right.
makes more sense because like a lot of our music is especially this new single it's like it slows down and then it just kind of arbitrarily just like speeds up and in true Frog fashion we've never like cared about that stuff like we've all studied music theory, we're all Berkeley cats, we know how things are supposed to resolve. And I think like a criticism we get a lot is like the transitions are super abrupt. And to me, it's like, yeah, that's by literal design. Because I love tech death. I'm a tech death junkie. But with what we're doing in this band, it's not to be like the Faceless 2.0. It's to do something that's just like a little more different. And those really like harsh transitions, they're expressive, they're intentional, and when you listen back, they're like unique. Like our songs feel very, very, very much like you're on a journey, you know, if you
Which is
listen
going to
to
bring me to my last question because I just see we're getting ready to run out of time here. What's it like sequencing this stuff? Because you want to keep them on the journey, right? So you got to keep that ebb and flow of the record. How much hair did you pull out trying to get that right?
Very little.
yeah,
Um,
honestly, not that much. Yeah. It's
yeah,
the way this band works. You can go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of this, I've always had an eye for set lists and just the theatrical about it. For me, composition is all about just making it directly analogous to filmmaking, right? Section to section is shot to shot, song to song is scene to scene editing. It's just movie stuff. It's just the Kuleshov effect. It's just two shots in montage having a greater effect than a single shot can by itself. So to me, I came in with Walpurgisnacht, the opening track, just already written from years ago, and I went, "This is an opener." And Sky listened to it and went, "Yeah, it is a good opener." And then it became an opener for the album. Sequencing live is trickier because we go, "Okay, let's be a good, tight opening band with good, polite logistics." So there's a guitar switch because half of our stuff is 6-string guitars and drop D, and half of it is extended range. So we have to go, okay, that has to go right in the middle of the set. And once we switch, we don't switch back until we're playing arenas. You know, that's how it goes.
Yeah. I think like sequencing material to
Well, Brett was going to say a thing.
Oh, I was
go
going to
ahead,
say there is one part though. It makes it trickier and easy at the same time. Is just knowing like the length of your set list. Because like let's say you have a 30-minute set list, we could sort of look at our songs and be like, okay, well we have like there's 6-minute songs, 7-minute songs, 4-minute songs. So then you can sort of pick through, and then you end up in situations where like, okay, well we want to play this song here, but it's like gigantic song. Are we just going to play a few minutes of that and have a cool transition that we make? So we sort of have to think of these things, and then the guitar swaps too. That comes into, then it becomes like there's a song, Ancient Rain, and that was in standard tuning on a 6-string. But then it becomes, okay, should we play this on an 8-string instead, just because logistically it's better? And then that becomes, okay, so that needs to be this part of the set list instead. Then, so those sort of things go into it.
Yeah.
Nice. This conversation, I have a whole list of questions I never got to because we just started talking. I think those make the best interviews. So I hope you didn't mind the wormholes we went down.
No, of course not.
If fans want to find you, can you give us all your info?
Yeah. Our Instagram has a link tree, Frogg Band at Frogg Band, FROGG, 2 G's, the OG American Frogg Band. Basically on like everything, it's Frogg Band. But yeah, there's a link tree, has all of our stuff. We have a Discord. People want to come in and like shitpost memes or get free guitar tabs. You know, we give out free things. So yeah, it's just a way to like chat with the band, whatever.
It's funny you mentioned Discord. My social media team just got us on Discord, so we're going to start doing probably like live chats during the show, and then I think we're going to do these we call them bar fights, where we just get in with like a bunch of people and start talking about, I don't know, what's your favorite Motley Crue album, or which singer, you know, David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar, that kind of stuff, just to keep people interacting. So that's the
David Lee Roth.
I
David
would have
Lee
to
Roth,
agree.
yeah.
100%.
Oh, have you heard his isolated vocal tracking of Ronnie
No,
with the
you know what?
Devil?
I got to
Will,
see him.
you're not gonna ruin it for me, Will. I saw them both back in their heyday, and
Yeah,
I totally respect Sammy. No, I'm not taking anything
I love
away from
Sammy.
him.
I
No.
agree.
5150 is
I saw-
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some great records in there, but Dave was Dave.
One of the things I'm happy about in my life is I got to see Dave reunite with Van Halen on a tour when I was in like 8th grade, and
I'm
I
old,
still
way
think
older
about
than
that.
you. Yeah, I'm way older. I saw Diver Down at Madison Square Garden, and it was just
Yeah.
fucking crazy.
Ooh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, that was the assless leather chaps and that whole that whole period he went through with the back bottle of Jack Daniels and all that bullshit. But yeah, I'm a Dave guy.
Yeah, me too.
Anyway, we are totally up against time. I could talk all day. Maybe I'll invite you guys. We get the Discord going. Maybe I'll invite you guys in, and you can plug
send
in,
us a link.
and we can. I have your email, right?
Yeah,
somebody-
the Frogg Band Gmail. Just hit us with the Discord invite link. We'll join.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and do. I think the first Thursday of June.
Nice.
And we've got a couple people are gonna do it. Yeah, just come on in and
Let's
come in
do
as
it.
your band, promote yourselves, and maybe we'll get something going.
Sure.
Thank you, my friends. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks,
All right,
Bruce.
see you, man.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Have a good day.
You as well.